Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We hope you're keeping very, very safe and well. Thank you so much for joining us as we provide to you instant reaction to Tottenham Hotspur somehow beating Brighton and Hove Albion at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We're going to get into all that on Last Word on Spurs. We're joined once again by three great returning guests back alongside me, my second in command, as he's been so much this season. We've got the wonderful compere, Mr. Richard Cracknell, back alongside me, and two great returning guests to Last Word on Spurs. Driving a lot of us to drink right now. We've got Darren Altman back on comedian voiceover, the wonderful Darren Altman back on Last Word on Spurs, and also Talia, Coren giving you their thoughts. We're going to get right into it with these great guests, but before we do, just a reminder, if you do need one, that we're absolutely delighted to be sponsored by the Beavertown Corner Pin. That is the Beavertown, of course, bang opposite our South Stand. We are hopeful of bringing you an end-of-season special coming your way in the very, very near future. So please keep your eyes on anything Beavertown related by going to beavertownbrewery.co.uk/pages/corner-pin. Right, now the housekeeping is firmly out of the way. We can subject ourselves to talking all things Tottenham. Before we do, let's check in on our wonderful guests and see how they're feeling on the back of 96 and a bit minutes. Cracks, second in command. The Mason to my Stellini. Before we get into the game, mate, how are you? You okay?
Rick, I'm very, very well. Again, never in doubt today. A good win for Spurs. Stunning, sterling performance. And you've actually come on out on time. Somebody checked the Ravens at the Tower of London. And later on in the show, I've got the answer to our managerial problems and the quest to find a new manager. A quick sneak preview of the Wheel of Fortune when we pick the new manager. Look, and I shall tell you more about those later. There you go.
I can absolutely guarantee that's exactly how Spurs are planning this managerial process, no doubt about it. That will be going back to them after this podcast. I'm absolutely sure about it. Joining Cracks and myself tonight, we're delighted to be welcoming two great guests back to Last Word on Spurs. I always laugh and joke that whenever I see this man on a podcast, he's always got some form of alcohol that he's having to put him down himself when he's talking Tottenham. We've got the wonderful voiceover, Darren Altman. Dow, how are you, my friend?
Sponsored by Ribena this evening. So it's very important that after watching Spurs, you get your 3 a day. So, you know, Ribena, it's all the berries. It's what keeps us going as Spurs fans.
Doesn't it just, mate? Doesn't it just?
Absolute pleasure. Can I just say, been a fan of this podcast. It's great to be on with Crackers. Love his content. He must have been, Crackers, you must have been bored out your fucking mind. The tweets and the GIFs and the emoticons. Brilliant today. Unbelievable. And Talia, we've got to discuss Matt Doherty. It's lovely to see you. Last time I saw you was about 10 years ago on another podcast. I don't know if it's still going, so it's lovely to see you.
Well, mate, lovely to have you back on. I think it's fair to say we're not going to be short of opinions tonight. And one woman that is never short of opinions on Last Word on Spurs, that always tells it as it is. She normally is here on the point of a crisis, so it makes sense for her to come back right now. We've got the wonderful Talia Coren back on Last Word on Spurs. Tal, how are you? Love to have you back on.
Oh, I'm good. Glad, like you said, crisis time. I'm back as always, fresh back from the stadium. Feeling stressed still, to be honest. So this is going to be good therapy for all of us. So yeah, no, good to be back. And I mean, I can't follow Darren's clearly glowing excitement for being with you lot. So I will just repeat and say, glad to be here.
You know what, Tal? Let me ask you, actually, before we get onto the game, give me a vibe of what that stadium is like. I'm back there next week for Bournemouth, so I'm really interested to know from you how you would describe that atmosphere building to kick off maybe before the game.
I mean, I think before the game, I think everyone was pretty pessimistic, I would say. I mean, Brighton have been playing great football and ours has been questionable. So I think going into it, everyone's a bit of a realist at the moment. So was quite not optimistic at all, I would say. Just, you know, just look, hopeful that we'd play better football and it wouldn't be a repeat of last game and just feeling like Conte's still on the touchline. So it was fairly negative, but I think the atmosphere was dry. There was no chant. There was nothing really going on at the beginning. I did think it was very library-esque. It wasn't great. But then I think where the game just kind of got ahead of itself and it really did just start to get chaotic and a little bit toxic, the atmosphere then completely changed. And I mean, I'm sure you all heard it through the TV, but there was full Poch chants, there was Levy out chants the whole time. You know, it was really loud where I was sitting. It was, you know, strong. So I think it turned. And then I think once the decisions were a bit all over the place, everyone was just getting quite rowdy. So yeah, it was a little bit toxic, I'd say, today, but nothing short of what I guess we expected. But if anything, we came out with a win and it made people a bit happier, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it was an absolutely unexpected win. Cracks, let's open up with you then. So a crazy game ends with Spurs earning a vital 3 points, depending on what you feel is the priority for you this season. Both Stellini and Zerbi were sent off, and there were chants against Daniel Levy for Mauricio Pochettino. But it is, in the end, as I say, a big win for Spurs, where Brighton saw 2 goals disallowed and were denied a penalty in the game. Give me your honest thoughts, Rich, on the back of that 96 and a bit minutes.
Oh, we were woeful and we got out of jail. It's as simple as that. We've gone 1-0 up, a stunning strike from Sonny, and you think to yourself, oh, okay, maybe the muscle memory of Conte is beginning to fall away, and you know Sonny looked a little bit more like Sonny, and then all of a sudden back into our shells, just not getting on the front foot. And we've absolutely got bang out of jail today. Not only did Spurs get bang out of jail, the chairman did as well, because at that moment when Kane scored that winner, it was, you could hear it through the TV. And my second in command, young William, he was at the game today, and he said it was really, really beginning to turn, really, really going to go. And I mean, had we lost today, I think that would have really been in meltdown. It teetered all game, didn't it? But we've rode our luck today. We've got a little bit of luck. And is that not football, Rick? Is that not why we love football? You know, I always go back to the Champions League final. Let it go. You know, Sissoko, it's not a handball, but it's given against us. Today, it's a clear penalty, wasn't given against us, you know? So it's just, that's football for you, isn't it? If it was a boxing match and it went to points, Brighton take that unanimously today. It was a robbery. It was an absolute robbery. But we got out of jail. Who knows? Who knows? It might just be that turning point. Interestingly, though, Rick, I'm sure we'll come to it a little bit later. Stellini goes off. Ryan Mason comes in. I think that's our 807th manager this season. And the football changed. Dan Juma comes on, pulls a few defenders away, creates a bit of space, and we get the goal. It looks like everybody picked themselves up a little bit once the ghost of Conte and the middle old little Conte, Stellini, were out the picture. Everybody seemed to just pick it up a little bit. So who knows? Watch this space.
Absolutely. I mean, Darren, I'll bring you in. Look, it is a good result. For me personally, it's another concerning performance. I think it's glaringly obvious that there are big changes that need to be made at this football club. Many will still argue they should be happening whilst we're in the contention of what the club want to achieve as an expectation of the top 4. But that is now 5 home wins in a row in the Premier League. And we have to be honest and say some big calls did go our way, and Brighton had much the better of that game. So intrigued to see, Dal, what you made of that personally over the course of those 96 and a bit minutes.
I thought the 3 big decisions, the VAR decisions, I can't see anything wrong with them. I mean, I think Crackers is right. I think that, we put this one to bed and move on. For me, I think they all were absolutely valid. I thought the Mitoma chance, it sort of smacked him there, and his body was moving. I couldn't see it hitting him on the arm. I think he was lucky to. We were lucky to get away with that one. The Welbeck drag back from Højbjerg, I didn't think that should have been disallowed. And I thought the Højbjerg, as Crackers said, absolutely nailed on. Still, the fact that the ball was away has got nothing to do with anything. I think it was a nailed on penalty. Really, we should have lost that 4-2. So I reckon we sort of go, thank you very much, and just leave out the back door. So absolutely, I think. We can discuss the football, which we will do. I just think that this reactive instead of proactive style of play has got to change. We won't get anywhere. All this sort of hitting on the brake, yes, it's exciting. like a couple of passes and we're on the front foot and we hit them on the break and we score a goal. Yes, it's exciting, but that's not how you play football. And when you talk about the Spurs DNA and the Spurs way of playing, it's like we haven't had that since Poch, since Yo. What is our way of playing? What, we sit back and wait for the ball and then hoof it forward with one of Dyer's hero passes, or we expect Son to run half the pitch. I think it was a lucky win. And we put that down to experience, and we move on. Really, I think we were. Yeah, I think really, if VAR, what are they singing? Tal, was it 2-1 to the referee?
They were singing a lot worse.
There's a lot in there's a lot in that stadium.
I think
a lot worse.
From where I was watching in the comfort of my sofa, I think we were very lucky to get away with that. Very lucky. On another day, on someone else in charge of VAR, on another referee, that could have very easily been a loss for us. It's
interesting because I know a lot of people will feel, essentially, I think as Mark says there on the screen, that 35% possession at home to Brighton, to Utah, is plainly not acceptable, And I know that right now it's testing a lot of the fans in a week, which we have obviously seen next season ticket prices frozen. But I think there's an element of just, you have to say how badly officiated that game was and almost difficult to enjoy, even in a win. And again, I will say that, look, we try and be as upbeat as we can in Last Word on Spurs. But I'd like to think that one of the things that we do on this show is try and tell it as it is. And, we can sit here, we can come and discuss a win and we can try and be merry. But I think ultimately the purpose of the show is to really give a bit of an insight into how we all feel right now as fans, what we're seeing, amongst, our eyes. And I have to be honest and say that game was a bit of a circus, wasn't it? I mean, Brighton's non-penalty in the second half was as bad a decision as we've seen this season. So I'd love to get your thoughts, Tal, having been there, what you feel on the back of those 96 and a bit minutes.
I think more than anything, there's just a lot of frustration for so many reasons. And I think today it was, the first half was horrific, I would say, especially going into half time. I think the abuse at Dyer, at everyone, at Hoyt, everyone, it was really bad. But I think, we did have chances. I mean, look, not to discredit Sonny's was sublime, right? That is the finish of all finishes, incredible goal. But other than that, we seem to run and just have no idea, as usual, what to do with the ball. Finally made it to the final third and then just useless, nothing, like sloppy passing, just really, really no end product at all. And I think everyone was getting frustrated. And I'd say just throughout the whole game, it just felt like they had magnets at their feet throughout. Every ball fell straight to their feet. Every second ball we lost, just the whole time. And there was definitely just an element of, what are we actually doing? And, not to say that, Stellini going off and Mason coming into the dugout made the difference, because we've got no idea. But for me, the turning point was having Danjuma on the pitch was the first time that anyone fully ran at them and they wobbled straight away. And, within a couple of minutes, we score. And it's frustrating because you just think the whole time you've got him sitting on the bench, he's not being used, and other things as well. So I think more than anything, from my point of view, it was just all frustrating. But look, as a performance, it wasn't a good performance. I think luck is the word, and I totally agree. You got to ride your luck, and sometimes that's what you get. And today, look, we're thrilled. We all are to win. It was robbed. Great. There is a smug kind of attitude towards that. But I think from a fan's perspective, and with season ticket renewals coming up and everything, we don't have a manager, we don't know where we're heading, our desire, our style of play is no clearer than it was before, and it does just, I think, to a degree, feel like Stellini is just Conte without being Conte. So why get rid of him if we're just going to continue to be in that way? I think all of us were semi-optimistic, like, get rid of him. If we can't get someone new in before the end of the season, at least play good football that is, back to our DNA. And we hadn't seen it. And there was a very, very small glimpse. But other than that, it was just another poor performance. And you think, we're sitting in fifth. We got to play the people that are in third and fourth. What's our outlet? Where are we going with this? What are we going to do to change and actually have the performances in? Because I think, like we said, it was on the verge of being toxic. And if we didn't get the win today, I fear that next week would have been, I don't even know. We don't talk about it because we did win. But yeah, no, I think overall, it's a strange atmosphere. I think it was just a very stressy game and just odd. It's odd because, you love the club and it was so passionate. When Kane scored that goal, I think everywhere that erupted around me, it was pure love and passion, but it is just so guided at the moment by a cloud of like question marks and darkness. It's weird, strange.
No, it is. I think that's the best way you've kind of put it, Tal. I mean, I think, again, normally a win normally answers a lot of questions in the most bizarre way. I feel like that victory even gives more questions. It's a very, very odd feeling. It's a very, very odd feeling. Again, I think we try and represent, I would like to think, a majority of what fans feel. Not everyone, because everyone has got their own points of views, and we most certainly respect those. Cracks, if I come back round to you, we had just 20 minutes of, I know what the kids call Mason ball. Danjuma come on, he closed down, Kane scored, and obviously Stellini now is suspended for next week. And I know many fans actually feel that we may now have every chance to actually beat Bournemouth. We've actually got a really good result today for them, away from home at Leicester, who've got their own problems. But what we saw in Mason is that he pushed Dyer into midfield, creating a 4-3-3. Many would probably feel if that was Stellini, we would have just sat back and absorbed even more pressure. Do you think it's right to look that far in depth and feel that with Mason on the touchline there in those last 20 minutes, that was what massively helped Tottenham see that game out?
Well, I think what I'd do with Eric Dyer is I'd push him from defence into midfield. Then I'd push him a bit further and a bit further. And then I'd push him out onto the high road. And then I'd push him onto a train at White Hart Lane Station. And I'd make sure the door's shut. And I'd give the driver a signal and make sure it just like pisses off up the road to Liverpool Street or up to Hertfordshire. I think that's what I'd do with Eric Dyer, to be honest. And I'd probably send the goalkeeper, old Lettuce Leaves, with him as well. So, I mean, look, it was a win today, undeserved. It's a papering over the cracks, isn't it? It really is. There's so much wrong there at the moment. As I've said before, the board, even if they bring Pochettino back, which is my dream, I know it's not everybody's, but this is what I would love to see. Even if he comes back, this board for me is finished. That they are finished. It's it's just awful. And at the moment, the void is being filled. The uncertainty is just being filled by everybody being quite negative, and quite rightly. The players, there's no direction. But in microcosm, we can only deal with what we're being sort of the hand we're dealt with at the moment. So for me, this week, I'd thank Stellini for his time and his trouble, and just say to him, away you go. Thanks very much. And just give it to Ryan Mason. Ultimately, give it to a manager. Let him have a look at the players for the last 8-9 games. Whoever that is going to be, give it to them. And let them have a look for the last 8-9 games. Just somebody playing a bit of front foot. If they're not going to do that, well, that's an argument for another show and another day. So let Mason have a go. Because those last 20 minutes, we actually saw something that represented what we are. A front foot team. Somebody just trying to get on the front foot and have a go. Because up front, we're not that bad. We've got some very, very decent players. So play to your strengths. And I think this is something that Mason wants to do. We've seen him, talking, he was telling players to get forward in the Everton game, push on. He just seems to be a lost voice with Stellini there. So thank him, and let's have somebody just for these last 8-9 games, if we're not going to get a permanent manager, who does actually care, who will go into press conferences and talk about us and we, and gets the club. It's not ideal, but it's ideal for now, isn't it? So for me, Stellini being gone, hey, it might just work that we start getting a bit of front football, players with their heads up a little bit. Ultimately, there's a lot of them that need to go, as I said, and we might just see something that represents what is Tottenham Hotspur and not Enoch Entertainment staff football team. So let's see. We live in over it, don't we?
Just very quickly, Cracks, before I come over to the guys, I just want to get your thoughts on De Zerbi's audition for the Spurs job. Many will feel that he probably blew it today. I mean, he seemed determined to pick a fight from minute one, ended up losing his call, and it may very well feel that he costed his team on the day. I mean, he's had more red cards than Brighton have had goals scored against Tottenham this season, and Spurs are the only team to do the double over De Zerbi's Brighton. So, in terms of an audition for De Zerbi for the Spurs job, what did you make of it?
Well, I like his football, Rick, but I've quite liked Brighton's football, even when Potter was there, to be honest. But that just goes to show you that if you have a club culture and a club direction and a club identity, you can lose members of playing staff or members of management staff and slot somebody else in of a similar mind and thinking and philosophy and football. So this is what Tottenham must get right. They have to get the culture and the direction right and pick a style, pick a plan, and now your colours to it. This is Brentford's the same. You know, they've got a style and a passion and an identity that they go with. So when one lose a player, somebody else comes in. Dare I say it, the lot down the road have nailed their colours to the mast with their current manager and backed him. This is exactly what you must have for it to work. I mean, we saw with Chelsea today. Chelsea have lost again. Because at the moment they're rudderless. They just seem to be a little bit identityless, don't they? You know, there's no plan, there's no DNA there. It's all just a bit hodgepodge like we are, but with a couple more noughts on the end of the operating budget. So just pick a plan. All the teams that have got a plan and a DNA and a style all seem to be doing very, very well this year. So De Zerbi, for me, I don't know. If they do go for him, then you know it's not terrible. It wouldn't be my first choice, but he'd get 100% my backing as long as he got the club's backing. And they stuck with it and gave him 2, 3, 4 seasons to put it right. So I don't know, whoever that man or woman is that they bring in to run the management of the team, just stick with it. Give it a go. Be brave. And that's all we need. At the moment, we're listless, aren't we? So De Zerbi, not for me, but I tell you what, it'd be an upgrade on what we're currently seeing, wouldn't it?
Would be. I mean, Dal, just to bring you in, I am just going to read some of the quotes from De Zerbi after the game, saying he actually feels disrespected by Stellini, but not really explaining why. So I'm always used to respecting everyone inside the pitch and outside the pitch. I don't know when things and people don't respect me. There are normal situations in football. It was personal things, no. I always respect everyone, especially the coaches. I can answer for me, not for him. Yes, he didn't. Yes, I feel he didn't respect me. It was a personal situation. I told him my idea, not bad words, just my idea. I don't know when the other bench put pressure on the referee. We have to help the referee in the stadium in this atmosphere. The referee said to me when sent off, you can't find one situation from my bench where I spoke with the ref to complain about a decision. They think I could say something, nothing from the goal of Mitoma, nothing for the goal of Welbeck. One part of my character is passion. I can't lose this. The most important thing is to respect everybody. You can't find one person who said, I didn't respect them. I think, again, we will bring into context that obviously before the actual game kicking off, there was an altercation between Stellini and De Zerbi. And from only picking up some understanding of the situation, it seems that Stellini during the midweek, when doing his presser, seemed to indicate that De Zerbi has inherited Potter's team, almost insinuating that essentially, Dale, the work being done there is a lot what Potter has done rather than De Zerbi. But I'm interested to get your thoughts on what you make of him as a character and whether, based on what you've seen today, if there's anything for you there that would make you feel more of a push towards him for the Spurs job in the summer. And we'll have to unmute you, Dale. Let's bring you back in. We've got you. Oh, brilliant, Darren Altman.
And then all over the face. So I don't know about. Sorry, guys. And then
Superb. The beauty of being live. You'll never change, and we love it for it.
I don't know about all that, Ricky, because that's the first I've heard of it. But one thing I will say is that respect and what's been said, has been said, I don't know. But based on today only, and what I've seen of Brighton, you're absolutely right. His style of football is absolutely an upgrade. I mean, to be honest, anyone's style of football is an upgrade. What we saw today was Brighton, one touch, every pass had a purpose, every pass had a thought behind it. It was forward thinking. With us, you've just got the reactive, the sort of the square passing at the back today, the sort of hero balls. You've got Loris's woeful distribution, which I don't know if you want to talk about. It's what did you say, Crackers? It's game after game. The commentator said that I was listening to on the feed. Oh, and Lloris with trying to find the forward man. I thought, no, bloody isn't it? It's like, which way did he go? Which way did he go? I mean, it's hit and hope. But with Brighton, you've got these passes which are forward thinking. They want to get the ball from front to the back quickly, one touch, beautiful thing. We don't have that. So would Zerbi be an upgrade? Absolutely. I don't know. I'm circling back to what you said. I don't know what was said in the presser. I didn't see Zerbi's presser, but I mean, absolutely. Like, I would swap Zerbi's style of football for what we've got at the moment any day of the week. Absolutely.
It's interesting. I mean, again, the situation, Tal, in that first half especially, is that you could clearly see the difference in system, application, and approach. That's how I feel. I mean, I'm only seeing what I'm watching on the course of those 96 and a bit minutes, but it seems that one team had a clear attacking intent, while us as a team in that first half especially, it was almost boot the ball long, hit and hope, and just hope the forwards of Heung-min, Son, and Harry Kane can create something. Sonny did obviously create something for us, but again, it just feels like for many that are asking Stellini to change, you're talking about a man that is of the Conte mould, and it will hope to work again with Conte. So I have to make this point that, we're asking the players to try and change and adapt to a way of football when the majority of the coaching staff are still there, bar one of them in Gianluca, who left the club with obviously his brother Antonio. So I don't think you are going to see a massive change in the approach. And what we've heard from Stellini before is that he doesn't think there's anything wrong with the style of football. So being honest, in these next 8 games, we might get a different style under Mason next week. But apart from that, are we really expecting much of a change or an adaptation to the play at the moment?
Well, the flat answer is no. And I think that's why all of us, as soon as that announcement was made, were so baffled by the fact that Stellini was staying and was going to take over. Because, no matter what, you get permission, whatever, right? He's his right-hand man. He did everything with him. Just because his gaffer's gone, what's he going to do? He's bought into that style of play. He's bought into everything that they do. So he's not going to be like, oh, right, he's gone for a week. Let me do everything he hates and do this. He's still, no matter what it is, he wants to keep him happy. And I think, we're too late into the season and he is not his own man. He's not his own manager. I think, of course, look, we got super lucky, or, we played really well under him when Conte was away, which was great. But, what's confusing is him staying isn't so he can implement his own style and push us forward. It was just a continuation of Conte. And I think that is why we're all slightly confused. I think on Zerbi, it's difficult to kind of know because, like you said before, he's kind of come in and he has inherited a team that do have a style of play and a cohesive kind of bond between them. So how much is he responsible for and not? But I think ultimately we don't want another crazy Italian. I don't think is my, I don't think we want one. We'll see. Look, you're right. Everything's an improvement. But I just think, look, our club's rotten at the moment. There's so much deadwood from board down to players. Like there's so much to overhaul. And I just see, whoever's coming next, it's an impossible job for anyone, and it just has to be the right thing. And I think, after the absolute shit show we all saw with Nuno and how, it took all summer to appoint the worst person, especially when whatever it was, Levy had that one-liner, didn't he, to all of us being like, you know, we want to find someone that breathes Tottenham and our DNA and all of that. And we ended up with him. It's like, right, you know, we're not that far on from that now. We're in exactly the same position. So who the hell are we going to get? Because bringing in the winners of Jose and of Conte didn't work for us. So we're back to, we need a project. We need to get rid of the Winks and whoever else is coming back, you know, as soon as the transfer window ends. So it's just like, you know, we need the right person. And I think, you know, our hearts all say Poch, whether that is the right one or not, I don't know. But look, I don't know. I just think that Stellini, great asset, you know, he did his thing, but he's not the future for us. He's just this weird, you know, middle ground block that's there to get us through. And whether he can or not, I don't know. Like I said, it's a coincidence that Danjuma came on when, you know, he went off. Don't know. It's too soon. I think.
I have to get your thoughts, Tal, on this before we do discuss, well, some of the comments from Stellini on his post-match presser. But I have to come to you, obviously, he was in that stadium. He said, the crowd felt the team needed energy after the red card, and they gave the team energy. We are happy when the crowd are with us, and I think this is a positive. Is he watching a different game?
I mean...
Listen, can I just say, our fans are amazing. We've got the best fans in the world. But listen, Tal, you've been there today, so you can verify this. I do think that's one of the most flattest atmospheres we've had all season there because of the nature of the number of questions that are surrounding the football club right now. We've got no manager. We've got a banned director of football. We've got no women's manager. There's just more and more question marks around the football club. Do you find that statement a bit baffling?
I do, because I think, you know, we've had in the past, look, our atmosphere for a lot of this stadium hasn't been the best. You know, it's weird the way, you know, I think we've discussed it before, but the way, you know, some of the corporate areas break it up and just the way that it is, you know, it is odd sometimes. But when there's a crowd, and, you know, I sit in the middle of the South Stand, so it's arguably where most of the noise comes from. When there's a noise, there is a noise. But it is so inconsistent, you know, it's not this consistent singing thing. And I think, and over time, obviously, where we have just got worse and worse, people don't want to chant or people don't want to sing. All you hear is actually frustration and kind of grrrs and whatever else throughout the game, you know, and that's what builds up. And look, don't get me wrong, as soon as something positive happens or someone's making a run, everyone's up on their feet, and that's when it's encouraging. And it's like, you know, corner, you speak and whatever, but the atmosphere is dry. You know, and I think in the past we've seen Sonny, and I know Lucas has done it. They come over to the stand and they're like, come on, like raise it, because I think they do need our support. But it's so difficult as a fan to support what you're watching a lot of the time. And I do think you get such a different perspective being in the ground. Like for me, I get a lot more. It's weird, like you get more aggravated when you're in the ground because you're amongst everyone else that's aggravated. But I also think you're a lot calmer than when you watch on telly because everyone else is in the same boat as you. But I do think when there is that kind of eerie, toxic nature, it is contagious and you do rub it off on the person next to you and you all kind of, you know, sit in it. But I mean, the comment's silly, right? Like, you know, the noise today was not the right noises for the right reasons.
Rick, do you mind if I jump in?
Please do.
Based what you were saying, Tal, I actually think it's quite disrespectful what Stellini said, because he said before the game, oh, we need all our fans. We need our fans today. You know, we need them to make them. And it's just like, well, don't call on us to do your job. Like, if you want to play the style of football that you're playing, it's not like us to be the 12th man. Like, you need to give us something to sing about, to back you about. Don't just say, you know, oh, he said that before the match. And it was like, I'm sorry, that doesn't sit well with me. I don't know what the listeners think, but I think it's a bit disrespectful. It's like, don't call on us to do your job when you're playing this dross. That's not how it works.
I just think it's a big indicator, right? If you're playing good football and you want something, you know, going for something, there's, you know, you gain that excitement, you go off each other and you sing and you want it together, and it is this cohesive thing. Whereas at the moment, you know, you don't want to. What are we actually doing that for? You know, people that do start a chant sometimes, no one else follows on, and it's all very strange and odd. And it's, you know, there's no kind of, we're in this together and we want to push on, because it feels very separate. So I think, if anything, the lack of atmosphere should be the biggest indicator to the board that people aren't enjoying what they're seeing and they're not rooting for the boys. And it's not, you know, what we've experienced in the past. And that, you know, volume speaks louder than words sometimes, you know, than the lack of it. And actually, for the loudest parts of the game to be singing Poch's song and to say that they want the ball out. Like, that's all you need. So, you know, it's a weird one. I think it's a strange comment, but
it is. It is. I mean, one of I say a number of Stellini's comments we've had after the game. He said, "On being sent off for failing to control his staff in the technical area, I considered the red card because if I try to stay calm and focused on the game, I have to manage the bench and keep them calm. But in the moment, I was focused on the players. I wanted to speak to my players, and I lost my focus on the bench. But I have to say that I was respectful and calm. I don't feel the red cards took away from the victory. That moment maybe gave us a lot of energy to win the game. There was an effort of the crowd as well, and they felt the team needed that energy. And that point I made to Tal there. He said, on those VAR decisions, many times we've had to accept VAR has said what it said. If we go back, we had maybe 4 times that we can discuss what VAR did. We didn't discuss this in the past. We don't want to now. And then before we do go for our first break from, like I say, hearing from Stellini directly for our listeners on audio, I did find it fascinating that 6 years ago today, Tottenham were finishing second in the Premier League. Brighton were finishing second in the Championship. 2 years after that, Tottenham were in a European Cup final. Brighton had finished 17th. And today, you could have got the same price on a Spurs win as a Brighton win. And I think that speaks volumes of just how much the two clubs have changed in that period of time. What we are going to do, we are going to go for our first break of the show for our listeners on audio. Taking to that break, you are going to hear from Tottenham Hotspur's acting head coach, Christian Stellini. For those that are watching us live, there's over 800 to 900 of you. Thank you so much for all of your support. We're joined by the wonderful compere, second in command, Mr. Richard Cracknell back alongside me. We're joined by voiceover and comedian who's cracking us up already, the wonderful Darren Altman. And as always, hitting us with the hard facts that we love on Last Word on Spurs. We're back with Talia, Coren here. Right, it is time to get into a lot of the crux of the game. But before we do, look, a lot of the show is always made up by you wonderful viewers, listeners that always get in touch with us after the game to give us your thoughts. And look, today is no different. We want to try and bring in a lot of those comments that have come through to us. And now I appreciate that many will be thinking, but we won today. What's wrong? And I think, again, this show, I have to say, we try and bring this show as close to the fans as possible. A lot of the fans that obviously listen and watch Last Word on Spurs are those same fans that are in the stands, in the terraces, week upon week. And again, for those that are maybe a little bit more disconnected and outside the football club, they may not understand the hysteria, frustration and anger behind when Spurs have won. Why is there not more of a positive atmosphere? Spurs are 5th in the Premier League. They are still in touching distance in the top 4. And what I would say, I think right now is that there is a lot of anger and frustration because of the lack of leadership, question marks that surround the football club right now. And ultimately, just in need of answers. I think if we had some answers about where we're going, I think we'd be sitting here after a win, feeling a lot more better in ourselves and we can see the vision and direction. So I just want to say that for those that are listening and thinking, but we've won today, why is there this reaction? As I said, the show is as close to the terraces as can be. And I like to think it represents that. So those are the stats from today for our viewing audience. What I am going to do is, for those that are listening to us here live, just list out some of the listener statements that we've had here in Last Word on Spurs. We had over 30 of them come into the show. So like I say, if we go through a number of these here, we've had Ultimate saying, I haven't seen a mugging that bad since Bruce Wayne's parents both got shot. I mean, that is brutal. JJ Coda says, protest, leave you out chance and poor football by most. Surely this win doesn't paper over the cracks. Wayne Thompson says, this reminds me of the performances with West Bromwich Albion who used to put in when they played against us. Shocking, no midfield, no defence. Very, very lucky for once with some decisions. Jordan Hussein says, that result shouldn't mask such a woeful performance. Why are we persisting with this charade of Stellini? Bring back Pochettino. Joe McKenna says, does anyone really think we have the basic tools to play a midfield three? A 4-3-3 that is being overrun every single game by a 2 and our back three, which are porous. When is Basuma back? My eyes can't take much more of this. Benji Spurs says, how much did we pay VAR? Brighton robbed. Can I just say, I don't think I've ever had a listener statement like this on the back of a Spurs win. It's absolutely, I promise you guys, I'm literally, as I've said here on the show, I'm reading out a representation of our viewers and listeners. I'm trying to find the most positive one that I've got here. And that is Dan Firmage, who says, subject to Ryan Mason's wife not still in labour after giving birth, can he take the reins for the rest of the season? That is about as positive as it gets on our listener statement. So look, again, that's a representation of what many feel right now. We're going to try and obviously try and find some positives here. It's Last Word on Spurs. We always try to. Christian Stellini said in his first programme notes since taking over, I love being at the club. I will do my best for the final 9 matches. Of course, that's now 8. We want to give you the performances you can get behind because your support can be crucial to us over the final weeks. And I have to always laugh and joke that Ali Gold, massive friend of the show, we had Ali obviously on here a while back, and I know Ali has said on numerous times that sometimes these programme notes are never even looked at by the acting manager or the manager that even sees them before. So I'd love to know if Stellini did get those quotes. But again, I think many, as always, were intrigued to see what lineup we were going to have today. Spurs, they went unchanged. So the only difference for Tottenham on this one is being Richarlison back, returning to the bench, despite Stellini suggesting midweek that he would not be fit. Now, Ali Gold, as always, he breaks it down for us. You know, he admitted that Stellini during the week said it'd be difficult to change the lineup because of a sheer number of injuries in that squad. And Cracks, if I can bring you in, obviously we're missing Ben Davis, Ryan Sessegnon, Emerson Royale, Yves Bissouma, Rodrigo Bentancur, who actually was spotted today. And those absent fullbacks make it near impossible maybe to switch to a back 4 unless you then move Clement Longley into a left-back role, which I know it's not his favourite position. There's also that other option that you might do, and that's one option where you could switch to a 3-5-2. It would mean sacrificing one of Son or Kulusevski for Pat Matassar. The other option, of course, would be to bring in Armand Danjuma as one of the front 3. But as we saw from Stellini during the press conference on Thursday, didn't exactly look like he was going to do that, and he didn't. But again, we saw Spurs' youngsters, Devine, Mundle on the bench. That team read Lloris, Romero, Dyer, Longley, Porro, Skip, Højbjerg, Perisic, Kulusevski, Kane, Son, with that bench of Forster, Austin, Sanchez, Tanganga, Mundle, Sarr, Devine, Danjuma, Richarlison. Rich, unchanged team. Thoughts when that came out?
Unchanged team, unchanged performance, isn't it? The definition of madness. So, look, you know, to try and be balanced and fair, we are a little bit hamstrung with some options to change that around. But there is some tinkering around the edges you can do with that team, Rick. And like you said, if we go 3-5-2 and try and be a little bit more attacking, move Longley. I know it's not his favourite position. Tough. Play it. You know, dig in. If you need to just do something a little bit different, do something a little bit different. These are professional footballers. They should be able to cope just playing a slightly different role to the one that they normally play. So, you know, we've just gone exactly the same team, exactly the same outcome. Side-to-side football, not front foot enough. And there's a lot of things feeding into the negativity of the way we're playing, you know, as we've already covered. Stellini is just Conte, isn't he, really? So you're going to get Conte ball. But as we saw the last 20 minutes, we saw something a little bit different because the shackles came off. So just change it slightly. I don't know what they're so frightened of with trying to do something a little bit different. I'm sure that, you know, you'd get a little bit more energy from some of the players who want to play a bit of football. You'd probably get a little bit more energy from the terraces as well, that we're trying something a bit different. And do you know what? If you get beat trying to play a little bit of football, a little bit of something, most reasonable, sensible fans will go, okay, we've got beat today. We're not in a great place, but hey, we've tried to play something a little bit different to this 3-4-3 that we're currently being served up. That is just turgid. But, you know, going back to the subject we just covered, Rick, everything at the moment around the club doesn't feel like anybody is talking to the fans. Conte, you know, was talking about you lot. Stellini's just talking in riddles. The board don't even address the fans as fans. You know, with Scott Munn coming in this week. And I read through Levy's announcement with it. Let me just read it to you. This is all the things that is feeding
Can I ask a favour, Rich? I promise you,
yes,
we're saving the Scott Munn appointment to the end.
Okay, yeah.
So I promise we are going to cover that because I do think, like you said there's a massive point on that I know you want to address. So I promise you we'll definitely come on to Scott Munn. But I mean, the mad thing is, Rich, as we've said before, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results, but we're still doing it.
Yeah, we still do it. And then there's like this baffling, why are the fans feeling like this? Because nobody is playing any football that we want to see. Nobody's talking to us as fans. Nobody feels like us. And I think this may be half of the reason why people are calling for Pochettino back, because it's the last time that you felt like somebody was one of us. I think that's why I want to see Ryan Mason next week have a little go, because you do know that he's one of us. He's not ready to be a manager, at really any level, to be honest, let alone Tottenham Hotspur level. But at least it feels like somebody that's one of us. I've been reading in the comments. Ricky for manager, Crackers for manager, Darren for manager, Talia for manager, Lee McQueen for manager. People just want something and someone who's one of our own to hang their hat on. And that's what's feeding in to this real negative, horrible atmosphere at the moment. Everything's just off and a stench. But look, just change that 3-4-3. We're sick of it. We are all sick of it. It hasn't worked for us. So if Mason comes out next week, plays something different, we get on the front foot and we do get beat, it won't be ideal, but at least we've had a go at something rather than this. So, yeah, it's for me, Rick, again and again and again. I just can't watch it anymore. I love to, but I just, you know what I mean? I can't watch it anymore.
Yeah. No, listen, again, we addressed the fact that obviously beforehand there was that pre-altercation with Roberto Zerbi and Christian Stellini. So we've obviously given you some context on that. I mean, it's bizarre because he was very complimentary about him ahead of the game, about his management style and his playing days. From what we understand, again, this is along the lines of essentially Stellini seeming to indicate that a lot of the work being done at Brighton is down to what Potter had installed in the first place, because we've heard nothing really since the game to suggest otherwise. So that's our understanding of it. If that, again, is a difference, then obviously we'd let you know. But look, coming on to more happier things, this is obviously a very happy thing for Tottenham, and great to see this man back in form. Currently, Udall, Heung-min Son, he grabbed his 100th Premier League goal, and it is an absolute beauty. He works a yard of space. He curls it into the top corner from 25 yards. And look, that's the song we want to see. That is the vintage song that we've missed. How important could that be for his confidence, Dow, between now and the end of the season?
I really hope that's the sort of catalyst. I mean, it's a shame he didn't get one more, just to really give him that boost. But I mean, what a goal, what a hit, what a record. And it's been sad. It's like watching, your younger brother or someone, someone that you genuinely love go through the doldrums. You don't want to see that. He plays with such a smile on his face, and he plays with the sort of freedom, and he just wants that ball. So to see him, as we have been, the past God knows how long, coming deep, trying to look for the ball and not being the front-footed Son that we love to see, marauding forward, always on the last man. All we can do, Ricky, is just hope that is the catalyst, that, that if he gets one against Bournemouth, maybe he'll get another against Bournemouth. We don't know, but you're absolutely right. It was what a goal. I mean, we didn't get the lovely shot you like to see behind the goal where you see it go outside the post and come back in, but you bet your life. I mean, maybe Talia, were you behind that goal or was it the other? Oh. Yeah, I
think he's asking.
Yeah. Sorry.
I was on
you. Was it the other end?
Yeah. That was in front of the door.
I'm terrified what's coming out of Dale's mouth at the moment.
No.
No.
I was thinking what you were talking about, and then realised it was that.
Yeah.
Oh no, I wondered if you were behind, so you could actually see the. But yeah, brilliant. I mean, and bless him. With every goal, hopefully he'll score. He just needs it because we got the Golden Boot last season. He's way off this season, bless him. And it's a crisis of confidence. Do you know what? It really is.
This is the one thing I do like about Son. There's been an admittance from him this season coming over to Utah that he knows he's not been good enough. And I think he takes a massive lot of guilt for Conte leaving, because I think he feels that had he contributed anywhere near the amount of goals he did last season, we might not be in the situation we've been in. And I think that's one thing we have to say with Conte. He's been really unlucky on that point with regards to Son, where you've lost out on 25, 30 goals there. And if you do have those 25, 30 goals, how different could a Spurs' season looked? Many will say it's just one player, but Son has never got away from the fact that he's not been anywhere near the level. And I think, again, we're hoping that goal today is just a bit of a faint hope that there is still a player left in there, because I know many had been almost comparing Son to Dele Alli, which, again, is a big, big statement to make, because Dele fell off the wagon for not one season. You're looking at 2 or 3. Son's had a really bad, I would say, 7-8 months where he's been nowhere near the level of Heung-min Son that we know. You'd even say as a footballer, he really even lost his touch, which is the most bizarre thing. But look, it's an important goal for him today. It's a trademark finish. For him, Son's record now, I mean, it's 100 league goals, 50 assists, 7 consecutive seasons that he has scored 10 plus goals since 2016, 2017. He's at the Best Asian Player Award for 6 consecutive seasons, 8 in total. Friend of the show, Sunmo, will know that very, very clear. Having interviewed Sonny many, many times, those stats from him as well there. Do you think that must be really, really big for his confidence? Or do you think finally, Tal, this will be the moment where between now and end of the season, there's a run for Sonny to go on?
I mean, I hope so, but I do feel like we've had this conversation before. I think he just, we've been so lucky that he's been so consistent and has just scored and scored and scored and really been there, as well as Kane and whoever else to score for us. And this season, I just think, we've discussed, is it the confidence, get him a goal, he's going to push on. And I just don't think that's actually happened. And, people aren't superhuman. Sonny is incredible and we all love him. And I sincerely hope with my whole heart that goal, he looks at that and thinks, yeah, I did that today. I've still got it. This is me. But, I don't know if that is going to happen. I just think at the moment, especially this season, I know he said as well, I think his granddad passed away and stuff. He's been going through a lot of stuff. I think, he put so much pressure on himself, whether that be his family or just him or, his role in the team. Kane is our primary goal scorer, but for so long he has been the second one to do that, and he just hasn't been able to do it this season. I think he's someone that just he puts a lot of pressure on himself for that, which is hard. But look, I really hope he does push on, but I do think it's a collective thing. It's not just Sonny. I think since Kulu came back from his injury, he's done nowhere near as much as he had beforehand either. I think a lot of that is because Bentancur and whoever else is injured, and we can go into that and everything. But I just think, it's not his season this season, and that's fine. He's just got to keep his head up. He still adds a lot of value to the team, and hope that this goal, there's only 8 games left and we need him, and he's got to just keep pushing on and score more goals for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Cracks, to bring you in there, as Tao alluded to, that he has lost recently his grandfather, and he's done that celebration of the 100th league goal. That this was something I dreamed of. It's really emotional because I had tough moments in the last few weeks. My granddad passed away. It's not easy. I want to send that goal to him. Just want to make this point again, Cracks. I know we mentioned this obviously when Conte was here, that we're not privy to what happens in these people's personal lives. They go through a lot behind the scenes. Conte losing 3 close friends, having that operation. We don't know how long Son's grandfather has been ill for before he passed. And I would just again say, we've all got lives, we've all got stuff going on personally that we don't always share, and certainly not air to camera. And I'll again make that point that, it's very easy to judge people on the back of 90 minutes and question why are they not the way they are. And I think, again, we have to make the point with Son. There might have been stuff going on with him in a personal level that has affected him on the pitch. And I think it's important to consider that sometimes, that we don't know everything that happens in football, around football, and away from football. Things can happen that affects a player.
We've discussed this previously, Rick, haven't we? Where, you just don't take that into consideration. And doing what I do with the Legends Night, so, I've got to know players a little bit more than just players. And like I've said, they're no different to any other workforce. There's players that suffer with confidence issues off the pitch and, rows with the missus or family ill or kids not sleeping at night or this, that and everything else. They go through the same things in life as butchers, bakers and candlestick makers. And sometimes, that, like any line of work, that can affect you. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and profess to know anything about South Korean culture or the like, but from what I've seen of, that part of the world, Asia's culture, family is massively important, especially grandparents. They are heads of family. So, I mean, here's a man whose grandfather might have been ill for a good few weeks, and it's deeply affected him in a different way to, say, somebody from Europe may have, where you don't have that family cohesion like you do there. Who knows? You just don't know. There could be a lot of factors playing into this. But one thing I do know, Sonny's not a bad player. He's just gone through a bad patch for whatever reason that may be. I think, Conte really did clip his wings with the way he played. He clearly didn't enjoy the training that they were being put through as well. It was, it was just all stick and no carrot. So lots and lots of factors can feed in to the way a player is playing. There's clearly some players there just not good enough. Whatever, even if you build them the happiest environment for them to train and play in, they're just not good enough. But there are other players that just go through bad moments and periods. So let's see what happens with Sonny. I think he just needs that new man to come in, that new man to put his arm around him, give him a little bit of confidence, let him play in a way that he's happy to play. And I'm sure we get the old Son back. But, today that goal, it was Son, wasn't it? That's what we was seeing from Son. It was lovely to see. I thought that would kick us on, for the rest of the game. It clearly didn't, but there's a glimpse of what you can have if you build that happy environment around a player. So yeah, I think he's earned the right to buy a little bit of time from us as fans to maybe find his mojo again and see where it takes us. So but once we get out of this purgatory, we'll see them, won't we? We will
absolutely.
See from now.
I totally agree on that, Richard. I think under again an established head coach that will hopefully have a vision and a purpose for what they want to do in a direction, I think then there's the time to judge Son. I think it's a very difficult time right now when for these next 8-9 games, as we can see, and with no disrespect, we've got the win today. We acknowledge it's an important win. We're not playing down the importance of the win. But again, at the moment, it's very hard to say in these next 8 or 9 games, there's a clear direction. I think we all feel there's a lack of that. So again, we shall see with Son. Just on Son's landmarks, he said we celebrated that in the changing rooms. We celebrated this week the 70th birthday of Gianni Vio and a birth with Ryan Mason having a son and a 100th Premier League goal for Sonny. So, yep, some celebrations there in the camp from Spurs. Many will argue they shouldn't be celebrating. They should not be celebrating, but they did celebrate. So there you go. What we are going to do... Go on.
I think Ryan Mason had a daughter, I think he got it wrong.
I think again, the daughter. Forgive me. Listen. Ryan, I know you're watching. Apologies, Ryan. It's a lovely little girl you've got there. My apologies, Ryan. Please forgive me. That's why probably Ryan is not on, or maybe didn't get the job for the end of the season, because I would imagine he'll have. Well, maybe he'll have some form of paternity. Maybe he won't. He will, with no doubt about it. He will have to be there next week at the game against Bournemouth. Unless Spurs obviously appeal that decision with Stellini, which we will wait and see. What we'll do. We will just go for our next break of the show for our listeners and audio. For our watching audience here, we've still got over a good 800, 900 of you. Thank you so much. Look, we've had a positive there with Heung-min Son. We're trying our best. We're joined by the wonderful Richard Cracknell, Talia, Coren, voiceover and comedian Darren Altman. Who, I look at Darren and I just laugh when I see his reactions to what I'm coming out with and you guys are coming out with. Dal,
so does my mum.
Dal, I'm going to come over to you next if I can. This is where it starts to get really juicy now. For all the VAR lovers, this is where it starts to really kick off. Matoma, the first one, had the ball in the net, but after a VAR check, it was ruled out for handball. I will say this one for me was a bit of a tough call. The ball struck him above the shirt line, but in my opinion, he moved his arm slightly towards it. Dyer will be massively relieved given that he gave away possession to build up to that moment. Do you still stand by the fact, Dal, what are we now, a few hours on, in your mind? Do you feel that was quite harsh to rule out?
I do. Watched all the replays that you watched, and I've got to say, I thought we were quite lucky. I thought it sort of smacked him, for all those listening on audio, there. That's helpful. I thought it hit him on the sort of the upper chest, and I thought that he sort of moved his body towards the ball. I don't think it was a direct. We'll arm it, we'll elbow it in. I thought we were very lucky That's like that old snooker thing. And for all those listening in black and white, it was just behind the pink. I thought it was Crackers will know that one. The great Ted Lowe there, show my age. So I thought we were very lucky to get away with that, Ricky. I thought it was the sort of upper chest. I don't think it was a definite handball. I thought he sort of moved his body just to sort of get into the to help the ball. Yeah. I just don't think it was. I think we got away with it there. I really do. I mean, I looked at and I was sitting next to a friend who's a Liverpool fan, and he went, "Bloody hell, you got away with one there." And I said, "Absolutely, we did. Absolutely, we did." Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I just want to get the guys' thoughts on that very quickly. So yes or no. We've got a lot to cover. So I'll just come very quickly. Cracks, just a yes or no on that for you. That first one for VAR, that was ruled out for you, rightly or wrongly, yes or no?
Yes with VAR, no for me personally.
Okay. Tal, for you, what do you think for you personally? Yes or no in relation to that first one?
I think I agree. I mean, I haven't seen it back, and in the ground, it's always a different view. So yeah, you know, the handball rule changes every day. It feels like. So who bloody?
Yeah, absolutely. We've obviously got a lot to go through here. So terrific flying save we saw from Lloris to line McAllister. The moments later, Højbjerg gave the ball away, and Consider sent a shot that hit the post. And Lloris may well have got a touch on it. But to be fair, look, that goal was firmly coming, and it eventually did arrive. Tal, Brighton equalising. Lewis Dunk completely unmarked at the back post to head in. And one of the biggest players on the pitch, I think it's not the biggest, I think he's 6'4". Spurs just did not seem to have anybody assigned to mark him. He was absolutely free as a bird. Pardon the pun to the Seagulls, to absolutely head in. Pathetic defending from Tottenham.
No, pathetic doesn't even cover it. I mean, and you know what? Everyone was screaming. Literally screaming down because you could just see what was happening before March even kicked the ball. You knew he was going to go there, and you knew if no one was in front of him, he was just going to ping it straight in, and it literally just unfolds. And you know when you look at something and you just think, what's wrong with you? Because it's the most obvious thing to everyone else that's going to happen, and they just didn't even attempt to prevent it. It's mad. I mean, you always mark the biggest man. Like, it's just... there was so much room back there, honestly. There was so much room. And you just think, like, what do you do in training?
It's like when everything goes in slow-mo and you go, no!
It was just like, you just sat there. And I think my famous eye roll 100% came out. But I think everyone else did it as well. Because you just think, oh, for God's sake, like, what a pathetic goal to concede. I mean, so was the other one, but you know, it was such a stupid goal to concede.
It's mad. It was on his 200th appearance. I mean, again, the frustration Cracks is coming around to you. Such a soft way for Spurs to concede against a side that really in Brighton, they actually don't score many from set pieces. And, you know, again, it shows all the frailties Spurs have got defensively, doesn't it? Again, which we've said so many times about us over God knows how many months, years about this team.
Yeah, Clown's car on fire defending, wasn't it, Rick? It really was. I mean, it was just so obvious how you don't see it. And this is the problem where we have this, with all the problems that go on at the club and for all the faults of the board and the managers and everything, there comes a point where 11 players on the pitch should and could be able to see that coming. You know, that should just be first thing. Corner, where's Dunk? Where is Dunk? That's the first thing you do, isn't it? If a ball comes over the top as a Brighton player, a diagonal ball, you can bet your bollocks to a barn dance that every one of those four defenders is, where's Kane, where's Son? Absolutely, where's Kane, where's Son? That's the first thought in your mind. So when you're defending a corner, where's Dunk? That's all you've got to do. But this is the problem. Those at the back there, they're just not joined up thinking. They're not seeing things like that. They must have worked on this at the training ground this week and thought about this and discussed this. At set pieces, Dunk. Go and watch Dunk. And there he was, free as a bird, honestly. Might as well stuck an apple in its mouth and put it on a silver platter. It was just, honestly, it was brainless, absolutely brainless.
It wasn't even just him as well, you know. There was just so much space. So it's like, you know, there's one thing, you're an idiot for not marking the tallest man in the team. But also, they just weren't marking half their bloody players. They were just like grouped in having a chat, just thinking, oh, yeah, let me just leave you all behind me to just do what you want. Because they weren't trying to mark anyone. It was just ridiculous.
It was absolutely bizarre. And what baffles me a little bit is for a team that spends so much time actually defending to not be able to defend. What's the bloody point of this? I mean, they threatened at the back post a few minutes before that, and we someone let the same thing happen over and over again. It is so Spurs. Moving on from that, we saw Welbeck shot deflecting off McAllister. It was then being checked by VAR for a handball after the Argentine, obviously made contact. It was ruled out. It was the second disallowed goal for handball. And to be fair, for the move itself, Højbjerg was turned inside out by Welbeck there. And he said he will be relieved that goal didn't count. Dal, I'll come back round to you for you on your first opinion on this. For you, you stand by the fact this goal you feel could still have counted, in your opinion? Yeah,
another one to keep things moving along. Yeah, hold on, can I just bet your bollocks to a barn dance, Lieutenant? Okay, thank you. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, one. Yeah. Another one we got away with,
I've got to say, for me, this one I would rule out personally on the basis that the actual handball does change the actual movement of where the ball is heading. But I mean, again, that for me, look, I'll be honest here, there's been 3 decisions there. Brighton fans will feel I know a lot of them still listen and watch opposition-wise, tune into the pod. They'll feel very, very hard done by today. Cracks, we'll get your view and we'll come to Talia very quickly. Just a yes or no from you, Cracks, on this one?
I can see why that one was ruled out, as you say, because it was a little bit more cut and dried. But another one on another day, you couldn't have been too upset if it stood. So that was a little bit more 50-50, that one. And we got lucky. We got lucky with that one for me, Rick.
Tal, your thoughts on that? Having been at the game again, I'm not sure how many times you've had to watch that back or seen it back.
No,
we got lucky there, or do you think that one's been rightly ruled out?
Yeah, from what I could see, it did look like it did change the course of the ball, so it looked like fine. But again, I haven't seen a replay. I was too busy just thinking, what is Lloris doing? That's what I was thinking at the time.
Yeah, no, listen, I agree. And then obviously after that, we saw the both dugouts massively, massively clash. Now, Zerbi, to be fair, he had been constantly talking and seemingly winding up the Spurs bench really all afternoon. And ultimately, actually quite funny, Stellini and Mason weren't actually involved in any of this. It was Tottenham's fitness coach, Stefano Bruno, and some of our others there that were involved. And Stuart Atwell simply decided to send both Stellini and Zerbi off. And what we now understand was because they both failed to control their staff in the respective technical area. Now, in that moment of Stellini going down the touchline, we heard the fans start singing Mauricio Pochettino's name. He's welcome, you know. And then as acting assistant head coach, obviously Stellini was leaving and Ryan Mason was coming back involved now. The South Stand were chanting, "We want Levy out." It was the most absolutely 3-4 minutes of encapsulation of just the utter mess that is Tottenham Hotspur right now. Tal, you were there to see those 3-4 minutes. Tell me what that was like.
It was just bizarre because I think so much was happening that, I didn't see the initial kind of kickoff, but obviously then words travel super fast. So you kind of look round and it was just like a brawl of chaos. But the thing that stood out the most from where I was sitting was Stellini was just in his box with his arms crossed, looking at the pitch. Honestly, didn't even turn around. It was like he had no bloody clue what was going on next to him. And you kind of just think, I don't know why he didn't even turn around. Now, I know you're trying to avoid it, but I think that's why he kind of got sent off, because he almost was just like, this has nothing to do with me, not my problem, not even going to turn around. But it was just weird. And then the chants, as you know, I mean, the Poch song, I'm not joking, was the loudest I've heard the stadium in a bloody long time. It was so loud. Everyone was up, and it wasn't even like chant from your seats. It was like pure passion singing, like getting up, arms in the air. And
just for a way of reference, Tal, for those that wasn't at the game today, how much of a percentage would you say that stadium was singing Mauricio's name? Were you saying that was just the South Stand, or would you say it was all 4 corners of the stand that was singing Mauricio's name?
I can't answer, because when you're in the South, all you hear is what's around you. You don't kind of hear the backlash.
That's
so
fair.
I don't know where it kind of resonates.
Obviously, the South Stand is, like you said, the South Stand is predominantly where the most of the noise of those Spurs fans come. Out of a percentage of those South Stands that you were around, the South Stand itself, would you say it was a large percentage singing Mauricio's name?
Yeah. A lot higher for Poch than was singing Levy out, I would say. Both were pretty loud, but I think from a Poch perspective, I would say it was like 70% of people more. Like the noise was just very, very strong. Whereas Levy Out, I think it kind of started from the other side and it did kind of whip round. But it happened a few times. When it first started, it wasn't as bad. But I think, like you said, after it all kicked off and what we were seeing just kind of got worse and worse, I think it did get a lot louder. But yeah, I mean, it was a weird few minutes. And I think, you know, that's why everyone, it felt stressed. Like, I feel like there's tension because you were just watching chaos unfold. I think the whole game felt very like on edge, that you didn't have any control. We didn't have control. You're watching stuff. And it's like the fans clearly knew that we didn't have a clue what was going on. So they started getting annoyed. And then it's like all you sing is slightly toxic. Then the bench kicks off and you're just like, who's in control? There's no one in this whole stadium that wants this to go on how it is, because it was just like every direction just felt stressed.
No, it's a fair point. Again, I will just say again, because I know many are saying, suggesting it was just the South stand from Maurizio's name. And I will just say from that perspective that, again here, look, there's a love for Maurizio, a real adoration for him. I know, again, he's not everybody's first choice. I know he's not everybody's man, but it does seem to be that he would appeal a certain percentage. And again, I just wonder, as these next few weeks go on, if you do see the nature of negative results and the brand of football not improving, and Maurizio still being there available. Obviously, of course, there's that Real Madrid link that potentially he may wait for the summer. But the more managers rule themselves out, I just wonder if that will grow and grow and grow. But I just want to make the point that, look, Maurizio's not for everybody. He is there for a big percentage of people. That doesn't mean to say that he's right and even wants the job at the moment. Who actually knows? I mean, Dal, let's come over to you very quickly. What did you make of those 3-4 minutes in which we saw the benches coming together, Levy out, Maurizio's name being sung? Is that just kind of summing up right now the actual encapsulation of Spurs right now? Just confusion amongst everyone. I can't work out if Dal's doing this on purpose or he's generally going to come back in.
Oh, there you go. No. You're second in commands. Unmuted me. It was chaos before the game started. On my stream, it cut to the managers with a little bit of RG/Bargy, and it was something was going on, but they didn't sort of allude to it. So it was like, all right, something's occurred then. But at the moment you're talking about, it was just weird. It cut to the managers. It was all kicking off. Ryan Mason was in the mix, but then you've got Stellini. It was all going up, and Stellini, no, haven't seen anything. Concentrating on the game, haven't seen anything. It was just bizarre. You haven't seen me, right? It was funny. It was just bizarre. And then he's magic, It was like, what the fuck is going on here? It's all then red card. It was like, God Almighty! It was very bizarre. Do
you know what? It riled the players up though as well. Like I think Brighton were getting really fucking aggy. Like they were coming over to the South stand. I don't know if you saw or if it showed it, but when March got the assist for their goal, he was fully giving it, like swearing away, like proper trying to egg everyone on. Like it got really bad, and it wasn't just like fans kind of putting it on them. Like they were shoving it right back. You know, I think it was contagious. Like the bad vibes from the bench, from everywhere. I think everyone had it. And it was a really horrible atmosphere, I would say, just from.
And McAllister had a little spell where he was like in everyone's face, treading on feet and all of that. And it was like, well, this is it's quite nice to see this, the lane, so to speak. It's great. Wonderful.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you say this, guys. I mean, it was definitely, as we say, the chaotic nature and the tension was definitely rising from that as well. I mean, Cracks, wouldn't be a crisis moment without bringing you in here. So I have to ask you your thoughts on that unbelievable 2-3 minutes where you've got the chairman's name being shouted to leave the club. You've got a former manager being pleading to come back. And inside that melee, you've got 2 red cards for the respective managers.
It was everything that's been building up and bottling up, spilling out in that 2 or 3 minutes. The dislike and distrust of the board came out. Daniel Levy's got absolutely nobody left in his fan club at all. He's just used up all his credit, football wise. That came out. the singing of Pochettino's name, I want him back because I think we need something more than just a football manager, as we discussed with Tim Vickery. I think we need somebody that heals the club as well as manages the club. That might not be right, but that's the way I see it. And everybody's entitled to their view on it. So I think maybe a lot of the singing for Pochettino isn't actually for Pochettino. It may be more just, he's the last man that made us feel something, that felt like one of us in the team or the board or around the club, away from the stands. He is the poster boy that we all want. So Pochettino just happens to be that man. If we get somebody else who gives the same energy and passion and love for the fans that Pochettino done, we will buy into that man. So it's not so much Pochettino, more what he represents. So I think that's why people are calling for him as a bit of an FU to the board. We want somebody there in that dugout that's one of us. That's who we want. So
the connection back.
Yes, that's what we want. We want the connection back. We want it back. Yep. It's not there, Rick, and he's the poster boy for it. So this is what we want. If it's somebody like Vincent Kompany comes in, if they go with Kompany or De Zerbi or whoever, Arnie Slot, whoever it is, if he comes in and gives Pochettino vibes, then we will all be happy. So it's not Pochettino per se. Stellini standing off and just stood there with his arms folded. I weren't happy about that, Rick. Football is sometimes, even at that level, at essence, it's still football. It's passion. It's losing your head in the moment. You take a red card, you take a yellow card, and you deal with it after. But you go and get involved. When the two benches went at it, I want to see my manager right in there as well. And if he starts having to shove about and getting in people's faces and gets sent off for it, so be it. Because that is the essence of football, is that moment. You get lost in a moment. Even if it's wrong in the aftermath, go and get involved. Him just stood there with his arms folded. That ain't for me. That's not for me. That's too controlled. That's not emotional enough. That's not buying in to wanting to die for your football club.
Crackers.
I want to see him get involved.
Crackers, what was the match where the manager squares up to Joe Jordan and Joe Jordan stood there and laughed in his face?
AC Milan. Yeah.
Oh,
you know what? It's funny you say this, guys. Back to that point, Cracks. Look at Conte with Tuchel. That man was fully bought in at that point. And was emotionally invested in the actual football club.
And
in
Rick,
that moment.
Didn't we love it?
We absolutely love that. We did love it.
He actually felt like one of us, and we all bought into it, and we all backed him. And when he was jumping into the crowd and being one of us, I mean, then all of a sudden he just went completely rogue, didn't it? When the wheels started coming off, it was you lot this, you lot that, and then that's when we all turned against him. What do you mean, you lot? You're supposed to be one of us. You was one of us a few weeks ago. When you've got a manager doing that, you will get the fans buy into it. That's all you want. From board level to manager, you want those people to be talking to you and being one of you. That is what you want.
Breathe what we're all seeing. That's what you want. You want them to be involved and feel what we feel. To just stand there and be a bystander or a statue is bizarre.
I agree. It was, for me, it was totally too controlled. And I also do feel, again, I mean, I won't go too much on this point, that I do feel even pre-kickoff, it was almost cowardice of the way in which he allowed De Zerbi to talk to, he was talking to him in Italian, so again, I can't quote what was being said. But there was no real defence from Stellini there at all. And I felt, that's the manager or acting manager of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. I want to see more than that. That's one thing with Conte, you have to say. I don't think he would have let De Zerbi speak to him like that. I think he would have eaten him up, to be honest with you. Whatever we think about Conte now, 18 months on, him being appointed, I think we can all safely say Conte would not have allowed anybody to talk to him the way in which Stellini did. But again, look, maybe the man was to keep it respectful. and you've heard these guys' opinions. We have to just quickly fit in, obviously, a couple of more things, then Scott Munn's announcement as well. So, look, Brighton, there was an absolute stonewall penalty that they somehow did not get. I mean, it was unbelievable, really. Højbjerg standing on Matoma's foot. I have to say that as a Spurs fan, Spurs in my heart, obviously I'm delighted it wasn't given, but it is totally, absolutely mind-blowing how they did not get a penalty there. You know, we had 3 massive let-offs during the game, 2 clear goals, some may feel, and a penalty. In terms of after that moment, we saw Danjuma come on, replacing Kulusevski. Finally, a moment for Danjuma to get that shirt on. His walk to the pitch was met with massive, massive cheers, as I'm sure Talia will allude to. Kulusevski withdrawn, even bigger cheers as he actually stepped onto the pitch. If we had more time, we would be discussing Kulusevski. Because, again, I know obviously a lot of people want to discuss Kulusevski's out-of-form nature at the moment. But look, the most important thing is that at a moment where everybody was losing their heads, Tal, Harry Kane kept his and scored what could be a vital goal come the end of the season. It obviously was played from Son into Højbjerg, cut it across, and he fired it in. It was an effort that deflected into the far corner. 2-1, 25th goal of the season. Hopefully we can end the show on a positive. Harry Kane, how big could that goal be for Tottenham?
Huge. I mean, look, do you know what? I think it just brought such a united feel to the game, because I think, you know, just before that, everything we've discussed was going on, and it was where everyone was up on their feet and being so involved in Aggie and just whatever, you know, we're on the front foot, made the pass, it went to Højbjerg, and, you know, he did not have a good game, did he, overall? But he had it on his feet, and we're thinking, what's he going to do with it? Because, you know, you just don't trust in that kind of situation. And as soon as he passed it on to Kane, it was an absolute bullet right in front of our stand. And the eruption was one of the loudest I've heard in a long time. I think everyone just felt so elated. I mean, it was an incredible finish. It's I guess, shock to some degree, because, you know, after everything that's happened, we didn't deserve to get the goal, but we did. And who better to score it than our Kane? So it was all just like, oh my God, This is huge. You know, it was such a good place to be at that time. I think it just really felt like what we wanted to feel like. Look, as lucky as we were, I think, overall with the decisions, both goals and both finishes were superb. So they're the difference in games sometimes. And, you know, you can say, yeah, so many decisions haven't gone our way. Today, they really did. And I know me and my dad were sitting there, we're like, lightning doesn't strike twice. You know, when the VAR purple thing comes up on the screen, you're like, not this time. And look, we got what we wanted today. That goal finished it off. It's so important. I think that game by game, we can't talk about how important it might be. We've got a lot of work to do before, you know, we really see where we end up. But Kane's Kane. He scores. He gets us the point. So big up.
It does. Dal, I'll come over to you quickly. We do want to discuss Scott Munn, which I'm going to come to Cracks on in a second. Unbelievable when you think Harry Kane, for what the kind of team that he's playing in right now. Not to be negative, but he scored 23 goals in this current team. And is that in itself almost, again, just an attribute of, I know it was a deflected goal, but just Kane really just seems to have got that amount of goals given the team that he's in. Again, shows what a phenomenal achievement it's been.
It's unbelievable. And he's one of the players that you can't not play. He had 2 shots all game. One went over, the second one went in. I mean, he's done his job. and that's without those wonderful passes. I mean, some of those through balls today that Talia saw with her own eyes were just absolutely beautiful. You know, some of those crossfield passes and finding those angles and spaces. I mean, he's an absolute, I mean, God knows where we would be without him. And you're absolutely right. The second, the goal that he scored today was absolute beauty. And you know, any other player, you would say, oh, he's had 2 shots on goal all game. What a crap striker. Not with Harry, though. Not with Harry, because as long as he's on the pitch, he gives you hope. That's our Harry Kane. Yeah,
agreed. Cracks, we've got to do a quick 5 on Scott Munn. I'm conscious of time. Get it off the bingo card callers for you. To get off, Cracks, very quickly, just on Harry Kane. Again, maybe emphasising the point of how much we need to try and keep hold of this guy. I don't think Daniel will let a bid come into something that will tempt him. Do you think on the back of that today, again, it just shows in moments of madness, a player's keeping his head? Harry Kane back on the score sheet again for Tottenham. 3 vital points for us. Regardless of what we think about the game, it is still 3 important points.
Of course it is, yeah. And I think VAR and Harry Kane of today saved the Bald's bacon from a lot worse reaction. I mean, it's all you just reading the comments here and the way we all feel. It's still very, very much on a knife edge. It really is. And VAR and Kane got that Bald out of trouble today, because had it gone another way today, I think there'd have still been people in the ground now calling for the ball to go. So it's a stay of execution, if you like, for the ball and the way people are feeling. But he holds his head, Kane, takes his chance, and we would be in a real bad, dark place without Harry Kane.
Absolutely,
we
absolutely
really would. Really
we would be. Right, we are going to go for our final break of the show for our listeners on audio. Before we do, just a reminder that we are delighted to be sponsored by NordVPN. Now, of course, for those that are watching sport events, TV shows that aren't in your available region, you, of course, can change your location settings to a country which is showing your event. They're brilliant when it comes to finding cheaper flights, purchasing subscriptions from other countries, protecting your data whilst traveling home and away with Nord. God, we're going to need those European trips again in our life. They are just the price of a cup of coffee, and worth bearing in mind that one NordVPN account can be used up onto 6 devices. So grab your exclusive NordVPN by going to nordvpn.com/LWS to get yourself a huge discount of your NordVPN ban, plus 4 additional months for free. It is completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day back money guarantee. And if I read that any faster, I will literally, I think I'll faint. I really will faint. Right, okay. It is time to do a final quick couple of minutes on the appointment this week we've seen for Tottenham of Scott Munn. I'm seeing a lot in the comments saying, who is this man? Well, this man Spurs have appointed is the new chief financial, or should I say, he's the new chief football officer to take over all football operations. I think Daniel was quite scared where I was going to be going with that. He has been the CFO of the City Football Group of China since 2019, and we understand he's going to begin the work with Spurs in the summer. He will come in as essentially Daniel Levy's number 2. The club have confirmed. Cracks, I know you're eager to quickly get your point on this. Scott Munn in. Tell me your thoughts on his appointment and what do you make of it?
Well, I know absolutely nothing about him, to be honest, Rick, but his pedigree, he's got to have something about him for the stuff that he has done. Does that work in the Premier League? Because it's very, very unique. It's different to anything else in sport, football, even football and sport. So, look, for me at the moment, my default position is, because of the way ENIC have run this club for the last 22 years, I'm having him as just a patsy for the board, for Daniel Levy at the moment. Another layer, a human shield, if you like, to bring in and be paid whilst Levy still meddles behind the scenes, gets involved. If he's given autonomy and he's able to make some decisions and make those free of any meddling from the board, let's see. I mean, he might be quite revolutionary and bring in some fresh thinking, some fresh impetus and some focus, and come and be sensational for us. But at the moment, Rick, for me, he's just another layer of an opaque veneer, if you like, that can be blamed and targeted because behind the scenes, Daniel and Donna meddle in all those sorts of decisions, which really they shouldn't be. They've not got it. They've not got the facility, big man, as the kids say. They have not got it in their locker to get involved with the football side of things. The business side of things, perfectly fine. But I was going to allude to earlier, when he was announced the other day, and this all feeds into this problem of nobody feeling like they're part of like Spurs or us, if you like. I've lost it now. I did have it on my screen. It was Levy's announcement. Scott comes and he brings in best practice both on and off the pitch, and it was a nonsense statement, absolutely nonsense. Daniel, you're talking to football fans, not people like in the stock exchange or on an episode of The Apprentice. Still love you, Lee, but it's, do you know, this one, his announcement was so businesslike, so cold. And I read through it and I thought, who are you talking to, Daniel? You're talking to, like, you know, area scaffolders and builders and butchers and bakers and candlestick makers and shop workers and everything. The people that buy the season tickets. We're not, you know, we're not suited and booted stockbrokers. Stop talking to us like you are, you know. I even knocked up a little statement in 2 minutes at 5:30 this morning when I was having a cup of tea on the veranda, which had a lot more of a human touch to it. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Scott into our Tottenham family. Straight away, you know, you're buying into something where you feel like he's one of us. He has a fantastic broad experience, which we are sure will bring a drive, direction and success to our fantastic football club. Just have somebody else write the statement. Instead, we just got this like, oh, he brings with him the best practice on and off the pitch in the business of football. And who are you talking to? Don't talk to us like this. This is what pisses us off, because it doesn't feel like you are one of us. And Donna Cullen, she's got a history in PR. Her background is a pedigree in PR. How is she not looking at that statement and says, you're not really talking to the fans with this, Daniel? Speak to us. Be a little bit human. Until such time as Daniel Levy can come down to the goal line bar at 2:00 and come and have a beer with some of the fans. Absolutely. and not be under the threat of like literally being attacked verbally when he's not running the club properly. A club chairman and a club board should be able to go and rock up in Beavertown after the game and come and have a beer with the fans. Of course, he'll get some comments when you're selling him, when you're buying him. There'll be a few comments like that, but generally he should be safe enough to come down to any one of those bars on a match day and come and have a beer with the fans. Because I tell you something, he done it when Pochettino was there. He had the fans forum and he had 300 or 400 people there. Did he get heckled? No. Everybody was quite happy with what he was doing. He needs to get himself and the board to that point of being one of us, like the manager. And this is what's totally wrong with the club at the moment. Nobody feels like us. Nobody's talking like one of us. We're being spoken to in ways that we don't like, that we just don't buy into, that we don't recognise. I want some semblance of a football club back and everybody being Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah.
Honestly, correct. You know, correct. A lot of people will definitely echo those sentiments. Dale, just to bring you in, if I can just quickly read out those words from Daniel on Scott. He says, Scott has a unique and broad experience of running sporting organisations, the highest level, and will take responsibility for the leadership and management of our football activities to instill best practice both on and off the pitch.
Right. Okay.
I'm giving you your thoughts on that.
2 points. One, Crackers had me at opaque veneer. Wonderful. Second, he's had depth of experience, having previously been CEO at Melbourne City FC, Mazel Tov, and now City Group in China. He was also organising committee for the Sydney Olympics in 2000 before venturing into the National Rugby League and then into the Australian Football League. What is he doing at Tottenham Hotspur? I'm clueless. What does that tell us? Is he going to take over for Paratici? Is he going to have the next say in the next manager? Is he going to have the say in players? What does that mean? With that statement, I don't have a Danny LaRue what this guy's going to do. If you, Ricky, or you, Crackers, can tell me what his role is, I don't know what he's going to do. Does he take over for Paratici?
No, from what you understand is he's essentially becoming Daniel Levy's second in command. And if Paratici does, obviously, pen this outcome of the appeal, win that situation, Paratici will then Paratici will then actually, how do you put this? Will report into him directly. So
what does he do? What's his role?
Well, all right, he's the new chief.
Okay. So
officer.
let's say Paratici gets found guilty. He doesn't come back to Spurs. He's finished at Spurs. Then who is responsible for selecting players and signings and managers? If it's
I would imagine that will go back to your man Daniel for now, Dale, as it would be at the moment. I mean, look, as we've said before.
Can you pass me the noose? Pass me the noose and the gun. Okay, yeah, because this will be done in 5. Then we can. Oh, okay, thank you.
Oh, honestly, I genuinely don't know what to say. I mean, obviously, we know that Greta Steinson is there, head of football strategy, and Greta Steinson, performance director there, and head of football strategy, Andy Scolding, are currently helping fill the void for Paratici. Look, I think again, a lot of this will hopefully become clearer as to when Paratici does come back. If he doesn't come back, then you know where this is going to go. But essentially, Scott Munn is being brought in down to come to you to close this subject. As Daniel Levy's number 2. We understand he's going to come in the summer. What he does for the role, we don't actually know in real great detail. Our understanding is that, I say, he'll be working hand in hand with Daniel. If that's on transfers, it remains to be seen. If that's appointing the next manager, it remains to be seen. What we do understand is that he's not a direct replacement for Fabio Paratici, and he's not a director of football. That's all we can tell you at the moment. Tal, what do you make of it very quickly?
I just think it's weird, and me, like 90% of people in these comments don't have a bloody clue who he is, what he's doing here, and what his role is. And, Crackers, you've been spot on with what you're saying. But I think the biggest question mark to me is, Donna and PR, whatever, is there a reason why they haven't explained his role? Do they not even know yet? Or, it doesn't make sense to me, because I think there's a real opportunity. And I think anyone in this, you hire someone new. I'm pretty sure when Paratici signed, he had a bloody video come out in a email or, on Twitter or whatever, explaining things and being like, hi, nice to meet you. There was none of that. And I know he's not coming till next season, so that might follow. But I think that could have been communicated a lot clearer, because it really felt like, hi, we've got this new person. We don't really know what they're going to do. He's probably going to be my scapegoat for a little bit. So in the interim, he's going to exist. Just pretend that, we're doing this as a tick box exercise. We don't really need you to know anything else. So here you go. And the end, it didn't really explain anything. So I just, like anyone else, don't have a clue. So, we can't comment on things we don't know about. And I hope it will come clearer. But if anything, it's a lesson in how to communicate with people. You release a statement to get to your fans. They may as well have released nothing, because it's showed nothing, it's explained nothing. And if anything, it just poses more question marks. I think, who on earth are these people? And they're extremely out of touch with our club.
Well, again, I think the appointment of himself as the man, we shall wait to see what he does bring to the role. Our understanding is that he won't be joining until the summer. So until that moment, I think, as a lot of the things are with Tottenham, a lot of question marks remain the same. But we shall see in the life that is Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. It's been a fascinating last hour and 40. Tal, can I say, as always, massive thank you for coming on. Always a pleasure. Where can people always hear your hard-hitting opinions of Tottenham, which are non-Matt Doherty now these days?
I know. What am I going to do now? Honestly,
I don't know.
It's Eric Dyer these days. Don't get me wrong. I fancy him a lot, but he's fucking awful. You can find my really insightful opinions, hopefully here or on Twitter. But yes, always a pleasure to be back.
Thank you so much, Tal. Bless you. A Saturday night, we are so blessed. Thank you so much. It's been lovely having Tal back on. Lots of love for her as always. Dal, let me come over to you. It's been a night we've had it all from you. The looks, the talk, the walk.
I just want to say, you bet your bollocks to a barn dance I've enjoyed myself, Ricky. And it's been an absolute pleasure being on with this girl and this guy and yourself. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Brilliant.
Thank you, mate. What's in the diary, Dal? Anything coming up we can keep our eyes on? Anything wise we to keep our eyes on?
Well, if you listen to This Morning with Philip and what's her face, Holly, my voice sponsors the cookery segment, This Morning Cookery, sponsored by Hellman's. And I'm on your radio and I'm on your TV, and yeah, you may hear me, but you won't necessarily know it's me. You're just, yeah. And I do the team sport indoor karting, yeah, and all that nonsense. So yeah, all that rubbish.
Don't mention indoor karting for Christ's sake.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll be him on the voiceover for next season. It'll be on the voiceover for next season for number 9 coming down the route. That's all we bloody need. Oh
Jesus.
dear. You were here first. I'm sure he'll tell us about that. Dal, been a pleasure, mate. Thank you so much. Go and obviously check these guys out. Twitter, respectively, Darren Altman there. Talia, I think Talia _Coren Tal. You have to remind me. Talia _Coren. Cracks, we're going to close it with you. You seem to have been appointed the chief counsellor on the back of this show, so I'll let you. You just want to take it over to Cracks now to the end of the season?
Right, listen, I don't know about me, but I alluded to this at the start of the show. Now, for those of you listening on audio, I have a manager wheel of fortune here. Let me just try and get this in for you, okay? So we're gonna pick the next manager, okay? Because we're going through them like wildfire, aren't we? We're going through. It's incredible. So on this wheel of fortune for next manager, we've got the Colonel that used to sell burgers from his van outside the old White Hart Lane. Want some onions on that, Colonel? We've got Daniel Levy himself because he's so brilliant. Let him have a go. Tim Sherwood's Gillet. He can have not Tim Sherwood, just his coat. Ant and Deck, because it's this Saturday night and it's a game show, so Ant and Deck have to be on now. Ricky Sachs' hair, that's on now.
Get that in as assistant.
The 1 millionth NordVPN customer, whoever the 1 millionth customer is, they can have a go. A clown's car on fire, that's in the running. And finally, Nuno Espirito Santo and Christian Gross's tube ticket as a joint management venture. So here we go. This is your next manager for the Bournemouth game. He spins it now. I've got a little cross at the top here. It's spinning, and it is. Where's it stopping? Oh, it's the Colonel that used to sell burgers down the back of the Paxton. There he is. You want some onions? Look at that, Colonel. Hey, want some onions on that? So there you go. God. Colonel that used to sell burgers is your new manager for the Bournemouth game. Thank you very much.
Well, listen, Ryan needs all the help he can get because he might actually be on paternity leave. So that wouldn't surprise me, Cracks, if you do get a call midweek and get to send him down there. So just be prepared for that. Daniel Donner, you've got his number. I'm sure you'll be in touch. Can I just say, from our wonderful viewers, audio listeners here, we've been joined by the wonderful Richard Cracknell, Darren Altman, Talia Coren, signing off as we wish you a very pleasant and happy Easter from us all here at Last Word on Spurs. Please keep safe, keep well. Thank you for all the love. And as always,